Welcome to the most objective, most accurate breakdown for who the best representative is for every martial arts in the UFC. This is not the greatest of all time, but currently the best active fighter that represents every martial arts style. But before we move on, please go ahead and smash that like button as it will really help me massively. Thank you so much. Without further ado, let's get to it.
Kickboxing. Kickboxing originated in the mid-20th century, combining elements of traditional karate with Western boxing to create a dynamic striking martial art. It was developed as practitioners from different martial backgrounds sought to compete under common rules, allowing punches, kicks, knees, and occasionally elbows, and it is usually considered boxing with kicks, just like its name suggests.
The best representative for kickboxing in the UFC is no other than Alex Pereira. Pereira is renowned for his knockout power, particularly his left hook, which he has used to finish multiple opponents, including, of course, Israel Adesanya. Both their kickboxing and MMA bouts. He has a very clean striking technique with an economy of movement that maximizes his punching and kicking power. His punches are precise and often aim to disrupt his opponent's rhythm, leading to knockouts or setting up further strikes. I mean, we all know Alex Pereira is absolutely the best kickboxer in the UFC right now. Nobody even comes close. We could say Izzy does come close. It's funny how a few years ago, I would have definitely put Israel Adesanya as the best kickboxer, but Alex Pereira came and took over that position, even though his last loss was to Izzy, knocking him out cold. But when you compare everything he's done against other strikers, and then you compare what Izzy has done against other strikers as well, you have to give it to Pereira. He's currently the light heavyweight champion. He has powerful striking, good range, and fantastic counter striking. His resume is full of former champions, so the best kickboxer in the UFC is absolutely Alex Pereira.
Jiu Jitsu focuses on close combat, unarmed or with a minor weapon, and its core philosophy is to manipulate the opponent's force against themselves rather than confronting it with one's own force. For this reason, its name means yielding art. It was developed to combat the samurai of feudal Japan, since there was a need to fight against armed and armored opponents without having weapons or just using short ones. Since striking against an armored opponent is ineffective, they noticed that the most effective way of neutralizing an armored enemy is through pins, joint locks, and throws, just like in Judo, but using the attacker's energy against himself instead of directly opposing it. Jiu-Jitsu students are sometimes taught potentially fatal or crippling moves such as joint-locking throws and break-falling skills to allow them to practice dangerous throws more safely in non-competitive settings. Judo actually comes from Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specializes in ground fighting and grappling. The fights usually start from the ground, unlike many martial arts, with a focus on gaining a dominant position to force an opponent to submit via joint locks or chokehold.
Best representative for Jiu-Jitsu and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the UFC is, of course, Charles Oliveira. Oliveira is known for his exceptional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills and striking versatility. He mixes both of them very, very well. His fight style combines aggressive grappling, effective submission techniques, and improving striking capabilities as well. Oliveira is one of the most dangerous submission artists in MMA history. He has a knack for finding openings, often transitioning seamlessly between positions to secure submissions like rear naked chokes and guillotines and different types of submissions. I mean, he has the most submissions in the UFC. Former light heavyweight champion, one of the most interesting and most fun championship runs that I've witnessed, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. Such a huge fan base with the way he comes through. He's a tough guy. He was someone who people always used to call him a quitter back in the day, but he improved massively and literally changed his whole mindset. His grappling is aggressive and he's absolutely dangerous on the feet. I don't even think there's anybody that comes close to Oliveira if you're comparing their jiu-jitsu skill. So, of course, Charles Oliveira is the best representative for jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu in the UFC.
Boxing, often called the sweet science or the art of hitting and not getting hit, is a combat sport focusing on punch combinations, footwork, and head movement. Originating from ancient civilizations, it evolved into the modern sport known today, governed by the Marquis of Queensberry rules. Training includes sparring, heavy bag work, and various drills. Because it is so famous, it is known to be the best-paying martial art, often allowing good boxers to earn big percentages of money where other martial artists would have only made a little amount, allowing a decent boxer to live off only from their boxing income.
The best representative for boxing in MMA and in the UFC is no other than Ilia Topuria. Now, in addition to his grappling, which is his actual background, Topuria has developed formidable striking skills, no doubt, making him a dangerous dual threat. He has knockout power in his hands and often pressures opponents with quick, accurate combinations. His stand-up style is tight and efficient. His solid head movement and keen sense of timing allowing him to counter effectively and land powerful shots, taking out most of his opponents. I mean, he already has 5 knockouts in the UFC, and he hasn't even had a long career yet in the UFC. He is the featherweight champion, achieving one of the greatest things ever already, knocking out both Volkanovski and Max Holloway, 2 good boxers as well, literally taking them out badly. His peekaboo style is just a fantastic, beautiful technique to watch. I mean, I don't want to glaze this guy too much, but his boxing is just so good because he has the 2 perfect recipes, technique and power. So I just had to give it to Ilia Topuria. There's so many good boxers in the UFC, but Ilia Topuria absolutely stands out. So therefore, he is the best representative for boxing in the UFC.
Judo focuses on throws and ground techniques, including pins, joint locks, and chokes. Developed by Jigoro Kano in Japan, it emphasizes the principle of maximum efficiency, minimum effort. It is often seen as the standing jiu-jitsu, since it uses Brazilian jiu-jitsu's principles in stand-up fighting. Judo is both a competitive sport and a means of self-defense, teaching practitioners to use leverage and balance to defeat stronger opponents. It also involves training with baggy clothes, just like Aikido.
The best representative for Judo in the UFC is without a doubt, no comparison, Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison's fighting style is heavily based on her elite Judo background, making her one of the most dominant grapplers in women's MMA. I would say in MMA period. Honestly, she's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist in Judo. Harrison brings a world-class clinch work, throws, and ground control to her fights. She has adapted her Judo skills to MMA like I've never seen anyone do, because she does a good job in focusing on her takedowns, control, and powerful ground and pound. So when she puts all that together, it's masterful. She's a former PFL champion. I know PFL is like in the B leagues, but she was very, very dominant there until she lost to Pacheco. But since she's been in the UFC, she hasn't lost, and without a doubt, she is going to be a champion very, very soon. I see her being a champion in 2025, and I don't think anybody will be able to beat her except maybe if Amanda Nunes comes back. Her control game is just too much for all these other women in the UFC. I mean, when you look at her style and every one of her fights, she has this fantastic ability to transition from the clinch directly into takedowns. That is like the hallmark of her style. So she rarely wastes any time to set up anything. It's like right away, making it very challenging for all her opponents. And once she's on the ground, Harris's control is suffocating. She often maintains a dominant position, such as a side control or mount, making it difficult for her opponents to escape. So like I said, Kayla Harrison, the best judo artist in the UFC.
Sambo is a Soviet-developed combat sport and martial art that includes judo, wrestling, and traditional Russian fighting techniques, aiming at both self-defense and sports competition. Practitioners master throws like Aikido, joint locks like Jiu Jitsu, and ground control tactics like wrestling. Sambo emphasizes quick transitions from standing to ground positions, preparing competitors for versatile and dynamic encounters. Combat Sambo, another style of Sambo, allows regular punches, kicks, elbows, and knees, as well as soccer kicks, headbutts, and groin strikes, except for standing or flying wrist bars.
The absolute best representative for Sambo in the UFC is my man, Islam Makhachev. Makhachev's fighting style is rooted in his mastery of Sambo and wrestling, combining relentless grappling with improved striking to create dominant, pressure-heavy approach in the octagon. It works very, very well for him. He trained under Khabib's father, Nurmagomedov, may he rest in peace. Alongside Khabib himself, Makhachev has developed a style that is so effective at neutralizing his opponents, particularly through his grappling and ground control. His background in Sambo, where he is absolutely a world champion, gives him a unique set of takedown techniques, allowing him to enter on single legs, double legs, hip tosses. Depending on his opponent's stance, he switches it up. He's known for chaining takedown attempts together, maintaining constant pressure until he secures the ground position that he wants. Once on the mat, he keeps a heavy top control, rarely allowing his opponents to escape. He has a good method in advancing positions, aiming to trap opponents against the cage, where he can control their posture and set up ground and pound or submission attempts. He is a Sambo master. His grappling is dominant. Of course, he's the lightweight champion, and his takedown accuracy is top notch. So without a doubt, we have to give the best representative in Sambo to Islam Makhachev.
Wrestling, with origins tracing back to ancient civilizations like Egypt and Greece, is among the oldest recorded forms of combat. It focuses on grappling techniques such as clinch fighting, throws, takedowns, and pinning an opponent. It has evolved into various styles globally, including Olympic sports like Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling, and numerous folk styles unique to different cultures like Turkish oil wrestling. The fighters aim to outmaneuver opponents through superior positioning and leverage. Wrestling's long history showcases its fundamental role in human competitive spirit and physical conditioning.
Man, this one was really hard to pick. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. At first, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. The best representative for wrestling, and I swear this is not recency bias, but the best representative for wrestling in the UFC is absolutely Khamzat Chimaev. Like, Khamzat's fighting style is characterized by his relentless pressure, grappling prowess, and striking versatility. Chimaev is an accomplished wrestler with a strong background in Sambo as well. He often uses his grappling skills to control opponents, frequently taking them down and utilizing his ground and pound. His ability to secure takedowns is complemented by his finishing instincts. Key factor: finishing instincts, as he often looks for submissions or ground and pound after taking the fight to the mat. Now, initially, I was gonna say the best representative right now was between Merab or Belal Muhammad. But when you think of the definition of wrestling, who really goes for it with the pressure the most, and who is looking for that finish, that finishing instinct? It's absolutely Khamzat, you know, who is translating their wrestling to make them very successful in the UFC. It's Khamzat. Merab's wrestling is fantastic, so is Belal Muhammad, but I don't think they capitalize on it when it comes to doing what you're supposed to do in MMA, which is finishing your opponent. I think Khamzat is the best at using wrestling to reach the main goal of the fight, which is finishing the opponents. But yeah, this was a really, really tough one. It might be a hot take, and I know a lot of people are gonna say recency bias, but aside from what he just did to Robert Whittaker, I would have definitely picked him because, like I said, among all the wrestlers, he is the most impressive with the way he uses it. His takedown accuracy is almost 100%, if not 100%. He is the most dangerous fighter in round one in the whole of MMA. using his wrestling. Of course, he has knockout power. He's a decent striker as well, but his wrestling is something else. He's like the fastest and most aggressive takedown artist, and then he capitalizes on it right away. So that is why I just had to give the best representative for wrestling in the UFC to Khamzat Chimaev.
Muay Thai, known as the art of 8 limbs, utilizes fists, elbows, knees, and shins for striking, making it a feared and brutal stand-up fighting technique. Originating from Thailand, it has deep historical and cultural significance. Muay Thai training includes heavy physical conditioning, such as hitting the bones with hard sticks, mental discipline, and most importantly, respect for other fighters. The fights end with 2 fighters bowing and kneeling to each other, showing their respect no matter who is the winner. It is usually possible to see bracelets on fighters' arms, which is a tradition that comes from Thailand.
I mean, this one should be a given answer, right? I mean, it should be a giveaway. If you're a hardcore UFC fan, you know that the best representative for Muay Thai in the UFC is Khalil Rountree. Rountree's fight style is literally characterized by his striking proficiency, powerful kicks, and strong Muay Thai background. Rountree is known for his knockout power, often looking to finish fights with heavy punches and kicks. His striking is explosive, making him a very dangerous opponent on the feet. With a solid foundation in Muay Thai, Rountree utilizes a variety of strikes, including elbows, knees, and powerful leg kicks. His clinch work is so effective, allowing him to land damaging shots at close range. He also employs good footwork as well, you can't underestimate that, to create angles and avoid strikes while setting up his own attacks. This movement helps him to maintain distance or close in for powerful combinations. I mean, look at the way the guy fights, man. He beats people up like they owe him money. One of the best soccer kicks currently in the UFC. He has good footwork and very, very good and consistent pressure. And of course, you have to remember he's literally Alex Pereira's toughest fight. A lot of people slept on him with the fight against Alex Pereira, but he did win round 1 and round 2. But of course, Powhatan came back harder, and knocked him out. But yeah, Khalil Rountree is without a doubt the best representative for Muay Thai in the UFC.
Karate originated in the Ryukyu Kingdom, now part of Japan, with influences from Chinese Kung Fu. Although karate has various different styles, many of them include striking techniques such as punching, kicking, knee strikes, and elbow strikes, along with open hand techniques like knife hands. The philosophy behind karate involves not only physical training, but also a focus on mental discipline and moral character. Practitioners learn forms, sparring, and self-defense, aiming to develop a character of self-control and respect. It uses the classic belt system that goes from white to black.
Now, this was another hard one to pick. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It took me a while, a lot of analysis and a lot of work. I put in a lot of work for this video, guys. So please go ahead. Don't forget to like that video. Smash that like button. But yeah, the best representative for karate in the UFC is no other than Michael Venom Page. I know a lot of people will start saying, oh yes, come on, Wonder Boy, what about Wonder Boy? I initially wanted to pick Wonder Boy, but then, like I said in the beginning of the video, this is not like the best representative of all time. This is currently the best representative. Who is the best current representative for karate? And it's absolutely Michael Page. Like, he's known for his unorthodox, flashy striking style, heavily influenced by his background in kickboxing and sports karate. Renowned for his innovative and unpredictable striking techniques, he often employs spinning kicks, jumping knees, and various angles to keep opponents guessing, just like the definition of karate, which we just watched right now. He excels at countering opponents' strikes using his speed and timing to land significant shots when they commit. Like, he's the best representative, I'm sorry. Yes, him and Wonder Boy, very close, but if we had to pick one person, it's definitely Michael Page. His footwork is so good. He's a very, very good counter striker. He displayed this example with his fight against Kevin Holland. That was a beautiful example of how you could use karate to nullify another striker. His kicking game is awesome, which translates to his defense. So yeah, again, I could see a case for Wonder Boy, but when we compare their performance as of late, you do have to go with Michael Venom Page as the best representative for karate in the UFC.
Taekwondo is a Korean martial art famous for its focus on high kicks and fast kicks. Just like karate, Taekwondo also aims to unite body, mind, and life, and in doing so, to promote peace. Taekwondo is mainly recognized for its head height kicks, jumping spinning kicks, and fast kicking techniques that are often used by movie actors because of its flashy style. Although it usually only consists of kicks, it became an Olympic sport in 2000, showcasing its global popularity and the athleticism required to perform its dynamic techniques.
Funny enough, speaking of Wonder Boy, I almost picked him for Taekwondo, but the actual objective, most accurate representative for Taekwondo in the UFC is Yair Rodriguez. It's funny because they are both, Yair Rodriguez and Wonderboy Thompson, Stephen Thompson, are both on a losing streak. 2-fight losing streak by submission and knockout. Crazy coincidence, but I do have to go with Yair Rodriguez. Like, when you look at Rodriguez's style, just like they described, it's like you're watching a movie. He has so many moments that look like something that would happen in a movie. He's absolutely dynamic and versatile with his fight style, characterized by his striking, creativity, and movement. Rodriguez is known for his flashy and unorthodox striking techniques. He often incorporates spinning kicks, jumping attacks, high volume combinations that keep opponents on their toes. His background in Taekwondo gives him a unique kicking game, while his Muay Thai skills add powerful knees and elbows to his arsenal, especially in the clinch work. Now, he does combine his Muay Thai with his Taekwondo, but he mainly displays Taekwondo. Yair utilizes excellent footwork and lateral movement to create angles and evade strikes. His ability to switch stances helps him adapt and find openings in his opponent's defense. Like I said, his striking is really dynamic. His footwork is amazing, and he always does all these flashy things that you see in the movie, which is exactly what Taekwondo is. It was close again with Wonder Boy, but the best representative for Taekwondo in the UFC is Yair Rodriguez.
Kung Fu is a collective term for the various schools of Chinese martial arts, showcasing a rich variety of techniques and philosophies. Its origins stretch back to ancient China, making it one of the oldest martial arts. It was developed not just as a form of combat, but also as a means of spiritual growth. Some styles mimic the movements of animals, while others are inspired by Chinese philosophical concepts or historical figures. It includes dance-like movements and training with traditional weapons, while the fighters wear traditional baggy Kung Fu clothes that are similar to Aikido.
The best representative for Kung Fu in the UFC is Zhang Weili. Weili is known for her aggressive, well-rounded fighting style. She's well-rounded, she can do everything, but she blends her striking and grappling effectively. She possesses significant knockout power, particularly in her punches. She often presses the action, looking to land powerful strikes and combinations. Her Kung Fu comes in play and is evident in her use of her elbows, knees, and powerful kicks, making her dangerous in both standing exchanges and in the clinch. She does maintain a high pace throughout her fights, which translates to the good cardio that she has. She showcases good and impressive cardio. That's something a lot of people don't talk about with Zhang Weili, but she does have that in her bag. So it allows her to keep pushing the action over multiple rounds. Like I said, she does mix her Muay Thai and Kung Fu. Those are two things that you might mistake, but she definitely has used her Kung Fu a lot. Now, this isn't a style that really translates that well in MMA or in the UFC specifically, but when it comes to representing the Kung Fu martial arts in the UFC, Zhang Weili is definitely the best representative of Kung Fu in the UFC.
MMA has a history that dates back to ancient civilizations, with the modern sport emerging in the early 1990s through the Ultimate Fighting Championship in the United States. The UFC was found to answer the long-debated question, which martial art is the best? Later on, fighters in the UFC were forced to adapt to be able to fight with martial artists all over the world and developed their own styles. MMA combines the best techniques from various martial arts, including boxing, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai, and Judo, challenging fighters to be proficient across multiple combat ranges. It is usually considered the ultimate martial art for self-defense and street fighting.
I mean, it all comes down to this, right? That is the sport that we are addicted to. That is the sport that we are watching, and everything we've talked about in this video comes down to this: who brings everything together? Boxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, everything. Who puts it together the most? And of course, is no other than the pound for pound best fighter, Islam Makhachev. Of course, he's coming on the list again. You have to give it to him, man. He's the pound for pound best fighter right now for a reason. And I honestly think nobody is going to beat him. I think he's going to retire undefeated and remain the pound for pound best until he retires. He's like the perfect fighter. First, we thought this guy was some type of wrestler, you know, Dagestani wrestler like Khabib. And then we saw that he's actually very good on the feet. He's an excellent striker. He showed that against Dustin Poirier recently. And before that, he showed it against Alexander Volkanovski. We did think he was going to be the grappler and Volkanovski was going to be the striker. But it was the opposite. Volkanovski was wrestling well while Makhachev was doing fantastic on the feet. And of course, in their second fight, knocked him out with a head kick. He, like I said earlier in the video, he's a Sambo master. His wrestling is amazing. His pressure, his control, his submission skills, his striking, he puts it all together with the best thing, his fight IQ. He's such a smart fighter. He knows when to make the right decisions, when to switch, how to approach each fight. Depending on the fighter he's fighting, he knows what tactics to use. He picks and chooses when he's just going to be wrestling heavy dominant, and then when he knows the best way to trick his opponent is to strike. And that just makes him very, very unpredictable. Again, not a glaze fest, but Islam Makhachev, man, he's the pound for pound best for a reason. And that's why you do have to give him the best MMA artist right now, at least in the UFC. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you have any pushback in any of the options, let me know. Any martial arts that I missed, if you would switch out any fighter for someone else, let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree, any pushback, anything you think I said was crazy. But yeah, I really want to know your opinions. But please, 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 please like the video, share, subscribe. You don't have to share or subscribe, but at least like the video if you've reached this point. Smash that like button. I'll see you guys later.